right there, Zoom world. Thank you for joining us tonight. I think based on the registration, most of you know me. If not, I'm Dr. Kenneth Olson. I'm with Anodyne Pain and Wellness Solutions here in Aurora. And I welcome you to tonight's workshop or webinar. And this is part of our Lounge and Learn series. So I hope you're tucked in cozy at home next to a fire on this chilly night. Tonight, what we're going to talk about is how to stay fit while you sit, or sit and stay fit. And if I were to cut to the short end of this webinar, we can't, meaning we can't really stay fit and just sit. So tonight's webinar is really about how do we minimize the impact of our sitting nature and our sedentary nature, and especially in the recent COVID and stay at home and work from home situations, how do we minimize the negative impact of that? So we'll share a little bit about the background, give you some reminders. Most of these I think you will be familiar with, but they're always good to hear and good to keep in the forefront of our mind as we navigate our busy daily lives. So the one thing I ask for you is just sit back and listen with an open mind, take in what fits for you. If you have questions, there is a chat function in your control bar, and we do have a moderator who's willing to take your questions, and then I'll ensure at the end that I've handled and answered all of those questions. So that should be good. So without any further ado, let's get rolling. So this is how you sit and stay fit. First of all, recognize that one of the biggest global pandemics was actually released in 2012, which said that physical and inactivity was recognized as a global pandemic. So this is demonstrating not only effects of musculoskeletal pain or back pain and neck pain, we're actually seeing an increased likelihood of things like cancer, obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease. And then most of us recognize that it results in musculoskeletal pain, pain in the neck and shoulders and into the back. But I really wanted to draw attention that this is affecting our overall health status as well. And I ask you, how many of you have experienced back pain in the last month? 2014 NIH study identified that back pain was a leading cause of disability amongst individuals. It also reported that 8 out of 10 people experience back pain at some point in their lives. And then it also acknowledged in a different study in 2017, the CDC says low back pain is the leading cause of disability amongst individuals. So back pain, musculoskeletal pain is a big deal. And oftentimes that's worsened by our seated postures, the cumulative stress or the micro stress of sitting. So the correlation between back pain and sitting position increases the load on your spine by about 4 times greater pressure. So if you slouch with spinal pressure, it increases to 190 millimeters of mercury per pressure. And this is approximately, you're going to increase 185 pounds will be about 275 pounds of stress on your spine. So when we look at this chart, laying flat has minimal pressure on our back. Standing up increases it, bending forward increases, bending forward with weight increases, but really sitting is much more, sitting and slouched is even more, and then sitting slouched with a little bit of weight actually makes it worse. So reminder that sitting increases that load, and when you start to feel the cumulative stress of that, it's generally too late. So we need to take breaks before that. So according to the NIH, individuals typically sit for about 6.5 hours a day and up to 15 hours a day, which depending on their occupation. So think about when you sit, whether that's eating, driving to and from work, working, running errands, sitting on our phones or our tablets or our computers, watching TVs, and then reading before bed. And I just ask this, when are you not sitting? And how can you start to tip the scale in balancing some time or counteracting the time that you have to sit? So why is extensive sitting so bad? One, it creates deconditioning. So when we're seated for a long period of time, the big muscles, both in our legs and in our back, are shut down. They're kind of asked to relax. So when those small muscles are not engaging in our postures, they weaken and decondition over time. So that leads to the musculoskeletal effects. That's what MSK means. So most of us correlate that. But again, we start to see that it increases weight gain. When we're deconditioned, we can't have the same strength or stamina. So we start to see cardiovascular effects, including blood pressure and heart rate. We'll see increased blood sugar, and then that leads to prediabetes and diabetes. It increases the prevalence of pain, and then it increases the likelihood of stress and anxiety. Remember that our mental health has a big deal with how our physical health is. And when we're sedentary, it increases the physiological response to stress. So movement is a way to clear some of that physiological stress and helps us with our mind-body health. And that really can have an overwhelming positive effect on our overall health status. We weren't designed to sit. In fact, the body is really a perpetual motion machine. We were designed to be upright, and we were designed to be doing pulling and pushing activities and out and moving. So just remember that we're not really designed to sit. And when we are, it's going to have a counterbalance effect to what we're supposed to be doing or what our body's supposed to be doing. So relevance data today, let's look at how is COVID contributing to our sedentary lifestyles. When we look at our shelter in place guidelines, we stopped a lot of our normal movement. If we go back to that slide, when are you not sitting? Those times that we're not sitting was generally when we were getting out and about. And now we're not getting out and about as much. So we have to be really cognizant of when do we dedicate and commit movement or standing in upright time, even in our house, even when we're in a shelter in place or have limited time to going out. Social distancing limited our ability to get to public facilities, even walking a mall. We're not doing as much of that. We're not going out for shopping. We're working from home or schooling and e-learning from home. We are significantly increased use of our electronic devices, including the delivery of food, our grocery shopping, our essential shopping. So we're just literally going from when we even walk the grocery store to now sitting on our couch, ordering our groceries from our phone. We have less public resources, including parks and playgrounds and gyms. And, for us here, the Fox Valley Park District had limitations and restrictions. And then for our younger athletes and younger students, delay of sports seasons and sports sessions. I've seen that with my own son. His sports activities have been really limited. So we stress every day to get moving, and we created a little workout place in our basement, and he's very disciplined about it. And I'm proud of him for doing that. We should follow that. We should be involved in creating good movement and good motion timeframes in our daily lives. So how do we sit and stay fit if that's even possible? So I want to give you some reminders. Number one, limit continuous periods of time of sitting. So I know some of us have work requirements. Other of us have responsibilities that require working from a computer. But try to limit that continuous period of sitting. I recommend no more than 1 hour at a time, and try to at least get up and walk for 2 to 3 minutes as a break if you've had to sit for longer than an hour. Our electronic devices like our phones and our watches have great, very easy to use reminders to get up and move. And you can set them in your calendars. You can, if you have an iPhone, just ask Siri to set a reminder to just move. We're going to talk about proper workstations. So make sure that where you're working from is set up right so that as you're seated for a longer period of time, it has less stress on you. Engage in a regular physical activity. So dedicate some time. Watch our diet. One of the things that happens when we start to sit a lot, we slow down. And when we slow down, our stress increases. As our stress increases, we're more likely to eat crummier foods. And that lessens our likelihood of being active. And then perform appropriate maintenance techniques throughout the day. So we're going to show you some light stretches and activities from a reminder of how to keep your body moving even if you have to sit. So if you have the ability to change your work environment to a versatile standing, sitting option, that's really advantageous. So these are two similar stations. This guy's in the seated position right now. This lady's working from the standing. So you can get these on Amazon. They're relatively inexpensive anymore and something I highly recommend. Set a timer to stand and get moving every 20 to 30 minutes. I just said an hour. An hour is our max. If you can move every 20 to 30 minutes, that's significantly healthier for your low back. And then really try to limit your time sitting outside of your normal work hours. So really think about activities that you can do while you're upright. So if you're watching TV, sometimes I just stretch on the floor, or I do planks and do other movements while I'm watching something of interest on TV. And then dedicate time. Really try to get outside of the house as much as you can. This slide is worth its weight in gold. This is how we should set up our workstations. So a few really important things to keep in mind is your desk and chair setup. Elbows should be at approximately 90 degrees, and our hip angle should be about 90 degrees. And our top of our screen should be parallel with our eyes, and this distance should be approximately 18 to 24 inches. Think about the lumbar support. So as we notice here, there's a decent lumbar support, and think about a foot support. So we really like these little foam wedges to help maintain the angle at the knee, and it often it also reduces stress on the feet. So more than 80% of adults do not meet their guidelines for both aerobic and muscle strengthening activities. And so that really, in our older adults, should be 150 minutes a week of moderate to intense activity, such as brisk walking. At least 2 days a week should be strengthening muscles. And we should include in there balance type activities, such as standing on one foot, or if you're a patient of ours and want to work with one of our physical therapists, or you want some personalized activities, we'll give you an email address at the end, and we can do that. The scariest part about this is we all know that we slow down the older we get. What we're seeing is even in our adolescence, 80% do not get enough aerobic activity. So, childhood obesity and childhood inactivity and deconditioning is becoming a really big deal. So I think the other, looking at the panels right now, who's on, I think it's important to look at what our 18 to 64-year-olds should be doing. Again, 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise every day and at least 2 days of strengthening. Our children really should be in no less than 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous, intense activity per day. So think about that. Some other things to keep in mind that will help your health while you have to sit for a while is really thinking about your nutrition. And it's really important to follow a healthy eating pattern across your lifespan. Recognize that we all have cheat days and we all have days where we are going to eat out or maybe not be as healthy, but it's really the cumulative positive choices that we make that are going to impact our health. So think about a great variable plate where there's vegetables, whole grains, healthy proteins, and fruits. I also like to think about nutrient density and the volume of food. If you want to lessen your volume, lessen your plate size. There's a couple of research studies that suggest just shrinking your plate size can reduce your caloric intake and help with weight loss. Really watch added sugars and added calories. A lot of our drinks, coffee creamers, sports drinks even, sodas, all are loaded with calories that we don't really need. And some of our poor choices are poor choice snacks are all loaded with sugars and sodium. If you're going to stay healthier, think about healthier food and bread choices. Go to whole grain versus white. I recommend stay away from anything white. White sugar, white flour, potatoes, things that are dense in calories, but not a lot of nutrition. Another recommendation there is tend to shop the outside of the grocery store before you shop the inside aisles. That's where our fresh, healthiest food generally is in most layouts. And then try to get a variety of color throughout your week, color of food. So what is the impact of COVID been on us? Just for comparison, on average, November to January, the average US person gains nearly 1 pound, just under 1 pound, 0.8 of a pound. But what we found in COVID from March to June, we saw an average of 6.5 pounds of increased weight. And so this stay at home and the impact of working from home and lessening our outdoor physical activities has really shown to be quite a devastating impact on our overall health status. Illinois is the 5th leading state in top 10 snacking states during COVID. So we've gained the 5th most weight behind Arkansas, Louisiana, Kentucky, and Oklahoma. That's not a great stat, so we don't want to be there. So these are some great stretch and movement things that we can do while we're seated. And so one of the most important areas is our neck and upper back area. And so one of those stretches that Tanya is demonstrating here is a side lateral stretch where we can grab our head, drop the opposite arm, and bring the ear to the other shoulder. We're going to hold that for 10 to 20 seconds. Only go to stretch, not pain. And so some days it might be more, some days it might be less. But holding that can reduce some of the tension in these upper trap and leviators. The second stretch is to come around from the back and then look down just as if you had a chest pocket. And this stretches more the posterior muscles, like the levator and scap stretch. So again, hold these for no less than 10 seconds. And we really want to see them up into the 20 to 25 second range. Make sure that you breathe through a stretch. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. And you can progressively increase your tension here as your body relaxes and allows you. Another tip here is always do both sides. So try to stay balanced with this stretching. Even though with handedness, we may find that we have greater tension on the right from the use of the mouse and the keyboard, always stretch simultaneously right and left, not simultaneously, but in the same period of time, stretch bilaterally, stretch both sides. A couple other areas we're going to look at is the low back and hip flexors. So a lumbar stretch is just a good rotational stretch. Notice that Tanya is sitting upright. So we want you to strengthen the back. Think about drawing your belly button in, squeezing your butt, and then crossing the arms and turning. So turning the shoulders, not just the head. And then again, you're going to hold that for 10 to 20 seconds or more. Breathing through that stretch. Do not go through pain. Don't stretch through pain. And then ensure that as you go back to the other side, think about sitting upright again, belly button drawn in, kind of the butt tight, and then turn the other direction, letting the shoulders turn and the head to follow. The hip flexor stretch, it's great to rest this on your chair, especially if you have a static or stationary chair. You're going to go ahead and put that back foot onto the chair or stool. And then notice that Tanya's standing up, supporting her pelvis, pushing a little bit forward, backward to forward, and allowing her spine to go upright. And that will stretch through the through the quadriceps and through the hip flexors. This is probably the most overlooked stretch that most people would avoid or not do. And it could have the greatest of benefit for us because when we're seated for a long period of time, the front muscles get all contracted and shortened. So this one is a really great stretch for you to do. The hamstring stretch, notice she has that up on a little platform. A stair can work great here. And the thing to look at with this particular stretch is keeping the back straight. So she's hinging from the hip, not bending from the back. So we want to keep that back straight, hip hinge, and you'll feel that pull all the way down, primarily through the hamstring, but a little bit through the gastrocs as well. And then the gastrocs here, the front knees at a little bit of an angle, about a 45 to 90 degree angle here. And then this leg is straight, pushing the heel down. And so the stretch is really through the back of the calf here. These two stretches can go for a longer period of time, even up to 60 seconds or so. Again, reminder to breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. If we can breathe 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out while you're stretching, you'll get a much better stretch. These can be performed every hour, and I do recommend if you're going to have a long duration of being seated at work, to try to interrupt your morning day once or twice stretching, and then try to do the same thing in the afternoon. And hopefully you get a little break for lunch that you can get up and be a little bit more active. So a couple of the exercise areas are the parascapular region. So to help maintain your posture, we need to work these muscles in our back. And so a lot of that has to do with pulling activities. In our office, we would teach you to use a resistive band. So these are rowing exercises. These are scapular traction, trying to pull and push your shoulder blades together, but allowing your shoulders to drop down. So we don't want your shoulders up at your ears. We want them drop down, and then we want to pull them back. The second thing is our core and lumbopelvic region. So there's a few great exercises that I really like here. One is just drawing your belly button in and holding that tight, trying to feel your tummy tighten underneath there. And I'd really like to see you be able to build up where you can hold that tight without discomfort up to 30 to 45 seconds. Some of us right away, if we're pretty deconditioned, we hold that for 10 to 15 seconds and we feel relatively fatigued and we need to reduce it. So we need to build up our resilience to that. We need to build up our strength. So again, tight, just draw your belly button in, feel like your abdominals are contracting. The second exercise would then be belly button drawn in and try to tighten your back muscles. So kind of squeeze your back muscles without forcing your pelvis to move forward or backward. So you want to draw the belly button in, tighten the back, almost like you're clenching down internally. And again, you can hold this for, if you have the stamina, hold it up to 30 to 45 seconds. And then the last is your glute medius or glute maximus. These are kind of your butt muscles. And a great one here is just to, again, think about tall spine, belly button kind of drawn in, and then just clench the cheeks together. And as you clench, try to hold that tight for as long as you can comfortably, building up to 30 to 45 seconds. I also call these exercises commercial exercises or red light exercises. So those who watch a lot of TV or those who drive, these are great exercises to do anytime that you have a television commercial come on, or if you pull up to a red light while you're driving. So you can pull the shoulders back, squeeze your shoulder blades together. You can draw your belly button in and tighten your tummy. Draw your belly button in, tighten your tummy and tighten your back. Draw your belly button in and squeeze the cheeks. If you do that, you will help maintain the intrinsic, the small muscle groups. You'll help maintain their conditioning, their strength. And those small muscle groups are really what's important to help maintain overall health and intrinsic stability, especially for those of us who sit a lot during our day. So our overview is, number one, try not to sit. Wherever you can, get movement. Motion is lotion. So schedule time for movement activity. Set reminders. If you have to sit for longer periods of time, get up and take breaks. Any kind of movement is helpful. Reminder to watch your diet. Keep a healthy eating habit, especially while we're more sedentary. Do our stretches. So we showed you the couple of neck stretches. We showed you the spine stretches. And then we showed you the intrinsic muscle activations. So if you must sit, practice these principles. And then, as we always say, we'll give you another reminder. And this is Dr. Desi, our physical therapist's daughter. We don't want you just lounging with these feet up. We don't want you lounging back with your, just kicking back all the time. But sitting upright, nice posture, knees bent, screen right in front of our eyes. This is our correct posture. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you got some reminders of how to stay fit while you sit. And most of that is to get moving and limit the duration of time that we can, that we're dedicated to sitting. I'll leave this up for a little bit. Tanya is our physical therapy assistant, and she's more than happy to help give you some handouts of stretches that might be appropriate for you. She'll answer any questions. If she can't answer the question, she'll route them to the right person. And then lastly, reminder that here at Anodyne, our commitment is from X-ray to outcome. If you're suffering with any kind of pain or discomfort, or you just want to prehab, you want to get yourself in better physical shape so that you can withstand the micro stressors of sitting or having that desk jockey syndrome, we're here to help. I hope that was helpful and informative. And I'll just ask real quick if there are any questions. Emily, did you have any questions that came up through the chat? I can't see the chat feature right now. Oh, by the way, this is all of our references if you want our references. So, Emily, were there any questions?
No questions.
Emily, you still there? All right.
Can you hear me?
I don't see any questions in the panel. If you have questions, go ahead and type them into the comments section. Otherwise, I sincerely thank you for attending tonight. I hope you learned something, and I'll look forward to seeing each of you soon in the office. Have a great night.